At the time when Jennifer Horton entered the living room of Doug and Julie's house, the sun was just beginning to set over Salem. The only thing that could be heard was the gentle chiming of the clock that was resting on the mantel table over the fireplace. Jennifer gripped her handbag tightly, and as she did so, her fingers felt a little tremor passing through them. As a result of the news that she had to convey, her heart was filled with anguish. She was sitting on the couch, looking through an old photo album. Her name was Julie Williams, and she was an elderly woman. There were pictures of family get-togethers, significant life events, and good recollections inside the collection of photographs. These photographs showed times of happiness and love. As soon as Jennifer entered the room, she raised her head from the floor, and a friendly smile began to spread across her face. "Hey, Jenny girl." During the time that Julie was yelling, she dropped the record onto the table. "I was taken aback by your performance. Quite a pleasant surprise, this is." A grin appeared on Jennifer's face, but it was a fake smile. In a low voice, she greeted Julie and then moved in close to her. "Hello, Julie," she continued. Almost immediately, Julie noticed that Jennifer was experiencing discomfort, and her sharp eyes were able to pick up on it. "Darling, what exactly is it? You have the appearance of having witnessed a ghost." As Jennifer prepared herself for what was to come, she took a deep breath and girded herself. "There is one thing that I need to make sure that you are aware of, Julie. It's in no way a noteworthy occurrence." There was a shift in Julie's countenance as she did not grin as much. "In what specific way is it? Does Doug have a chance? How about the family? To be more specific, what has gone place?" Jennifer extended her hand to Julie and took her hand in her own. Julie's hand was taken by Jennifer. "This is about someone who is going through a difficult time, and it is about someone who is very important to both of us. The reasons why is so crucial to tell the truth." Jennifer paused for a moment because she was concerned that the words would become stuck in her throat. Despite the fact that she knew how much Julie valued honesty, she found it difficult to convey unfavorable information to anyone, even to someone who was so dear to her heart. "Julie, it's about Abigail," Jennifer finally said, bringing the conversation to a close. She was trembling in her voice. The eyes of Julie widened, and a flash of panic could be seen in them. "To whom, Abigail? Is she experiencing any discomfort? Have you been feeling ill? Jenny, for the love of God, please explain everything to me in its entirety." Jennifer exerted a firm grip on Julie's hand in the hope of providing her with some slight measure of comfort. Even though she is safe, she is having difficulty once more. "This morning, Chad decided to give me a call. It has been a while since she has been able to keep up," he remarked. "Her ability to maintain a healthy balance between her profession, her children, and everything else is becoming increasingly challenging for her. When it comes to Julie, I am concerned about a stream of her." With her fingers pressed firmly against her chest, Julie leaned back against the wall. "Be merciful, my God, I pray. On no account again." Never having any idea of what that she has been through, Abigail has gone through a lot of trouble in order to regain control of her life and to be on the side of her family. Are we witnessing this happening at this very moment? Jennifer gave a slight nod, and as she did so, tears began to well up in her eyes. "Julie, I'm not sure," I responded to her. "Chad asserts that she has been isolating herself and excluding him from her life. Even while he is making an effort to fulfill her other requirements with the short amount of time that he has available, it is quite evident that this is not sufficient. Even though I am making an effort to avoid putting undue pressure on her, she continues to refuse to participate in treatment." During the break, Julie gave off an air of decisiveness. "To get in touch with her, Jennifer, someone is required. A further plunge into the abyss is something that we cannot allow her to do. My dearly loved Abigail is not the case at all. It would be immature of her to allow this to take control of her. recollection, and a resolute willpower. There was complete silence in the room as both of the women battled to convey their thoughts. Julie's eyes resumed their journey through the photo album that she had just finished turning through after a brief pause. A picture of a younger version of Abigail beaming while wearing her wedding dress was among the contents of the package when she opened it. On this particular day, what do you recall taking place? Julie inquired in a more subdued tone. Could you not agree that she was stunning? Having an abundance of love and hope. Chad cast his gaze upon her as if she were the entire universe. As for their vows, Jennifer, I was under the impression that they were the ideal pair who were capable of triumphing over any challenge. Jennifer responded with a small nod, her heart beating rapidly. Yes, I do remember that. That day brought her a lot of happiness. Julie, on the other hand, is the same lady she was before. I am conscious of the fact that, on the other hand, there are times when even the most resilient among us are unable to cope with the challenges that life presents to us. While she was doing so, Julie carefully closed the album and turned to Jennifer, her eyes gleaming with intent as she worked. Therefore, we shall be assisting her in this situation. During this time, she will be reminded of who Abigail is and the amount of love that she has received previously. We are not going to give her the opportunity to fight this war on her alone, and she is not the only one going through this. A rekindled sense of optimism had been instilled in Jennifer by Julie, and in spite of the awful circumstances in which they were living, Julie's unshakable faith that Abigail would prevail over the challenges was a ray of hope in the middle of the darkness that was consuming them. An individual's plan of action. In your opinion, what should we pursue? Jennifer made an inquiry regarding it. Julie straightened her shoulders and focused her attention on the task at hand that she was performing. To begin, I believe it is necessary for us to get Chad on the same page. For her, he is a rock, but even rocks can crumble when subjected to an excessive amount of force. Additionally, he needs to be aware that we are here for him. There was a small nod from Jennifer. Despite the fact that Chad has demonstrated an incredible amount of strength in the midst of all that has happened, I can tell that he is terrified. In no way, shape, or form does he ever want to lose her. In a furious tone, Julie stated, "That is not going to take place. Then we will need to find a way to get Abigail to come out more. It is possible that if she believes that she is in a secure environment with us, she will be more open to accept assistance." Jenny was apprehensive to proceed. Julie, she is giving off a really guarded vibe at the moment. I do not want to put an excessive amount of pressure on her since I run the danger of driving her further away from me. Jennifer's arm was touched by Julie, who then remarked, "I am going to do this very carefully, Jennifer." Julie continued to stretch across the room. Except at the same time, we cannot do nothing except sit about and do nothing. It is important to remember that you are a member of the Horton family, which is a family that stays together no matter what occurs. A ray of hope within the darkness. When they continued conversing, Jennifer experienced a rush of comfort because she realized that they had been talking. Having a conversation with Julie about the burden made it easier to feel a little lighter, and the two of them worked together to devise a plan to assist Abigail in any way that they could think of. Inadequate. Jennifer made the following statement. I will approach her the following day. You may begin with an invitation to lunch, or perhaps just something on a more informal note. Even though she may not be ready to chat, at least she will be aware that I am present. After that, Julie continued by saying, and I'll follow up with Chad. I think it is important for him to understand that he is not the only person who is experiencing this. First of all, you are aware that Doug will be present and ready to assist in any way that he can give his assistance. Little smile appeared on Jennifer's face. If it weren't for you, Julie, I have no idea what I would do with the rest of my life. You have the ability to take command, even in the most difficult of circumstances. A reassuring and affectionate embrace was given to her by Julie as she encircled her. "You see, Jenny girl, why it is that you have a family. Oh, but you recognize that. No matter how terrible the storms may be, we are able to weather them with the power of our collective ethos. What is it about family that is so powerful?" Over the course of the night, the two women remained in close proximity to one another, gathering strength from one another as the night progressed. They were resolute in their mission to assist Abigail in locating the way that would lead her back to the light, despite the fact that the path that lay ahead was everything but simple. Julie felt a personal connection to the struggle on a few different levels. Her great-niece, Abigail Jessica Horton, was not only a member of the Horton family, but also exemplified love and tenacity. She was also a member of the Horton tradition. As a result of Julie's decision to let that light go out, she was cursed. Jennifer interpreted the conflict as a representation of the love that her mother had for her. Jennifer would always be there to assist Abigail in getting back up, regardless of the number of times she fell down at the same time. They were going to go into the fight together, regardless of the challenges that were waiting for them. As far as the Hortons were concerned, the only thing that mattered in Salem was family, and they never let go of their members when it came to pursuing their goals. As the sky descended around the Salem cityscape, which was still visible behind Horton Tower, warm tones of orange and pink were cast across Horton Town Square. This occurred while the Salem skyline was still visible. In spite of the fact that J.J. Devereaux and Gaby Hernandez believed that they were going to spend another typical evening in Salem, fate had other plans for them. Their plans remained in the midst of all that they anticipated would be a usual evening. She was now nursing a latte at the corner table that she usually claims to be sitting at, and the difficult meeting with Stefan that she had just had at Demera Enterprises was little more than a memory. At the same time that they were revolving around her contentment, she was experiencing feelings of irritation, exhaustion, and a hint of sadness on her face. Due to the fact that she was scrolling through her phone, she could feel the tension in her shoulders increasing. Across the square, JJ was able to catch a peek of her before she arrived. There was a brief lull in his actions, during which his hands were buried deep into the pockets of his jacket. This is Gaby. When I thought about her, it was enough to cause a flood of memories to come flooding back. Memories of love and betrayal, loss and heartache. Suddenly, these emotions came crashing down like a tsunami. In spite of the fact that they should have been so far ahead, they were unable to escape the agony of what had occurred in the past. JJ hurried up to her table before he had the chance to give it too much thought. As he addressed her as Gaby, his tone of voice was little hesitant, and he spoke in a low voice. A surprised Gaby looked up at the sky. During the entire conversation, her eyes became tense for a brief period of time before becoming more relaxed. Yet the walls that she had constructed remained firmly in place. The name is JJ. You are in this location for what reason? JJ gave a shrug and adjusted his body in an odd manner. It's nothing more than going through the motions. Because I saw you, I believed it would be appropriate to extend a greeting to you. Gaby arched her brow in surprise. Hello, she said in a manner that was neither dismissive nor cold. Do you mind if I take a seat? As Gigi inquired, she made a gesture toward the vacant seat that was located on the opposite side of her. Gaby appeared to take a momentary halt. There was a part of her that wanted to tell him to leave. After everything that had occurred between them, why would she bring it all back up again? Alternately, a weak nod was given by a different part of her, which was the portion that had already rejected their partnership. Sure, she responded at some point in time. A disagreement in which the tension is extremely real. As he takes a seat, Gigi's posture becomes rigid and tight. There was a wall of stillness that stretched between them, and none of them broke the silence for a few moments. The silence was like an abyss, a packed day. While gesturing toward her cup of coffee, JJ took a chance and took a risk. With a caustic laugh, Gaby laughed. You can't even argue that busy isn't even close to being accurate. When dealing with the Demarest, it is safe to assume that the situation is not an easy one to handle. The grin that JJ provided was flickering. I have the ability to guess. They have a knack of making the simplest things more complicated than they need to be. What's the deal? The tone of Gaby's voice changed even further. To put it another way, it ought to be an understatement. On the other hand, you should know that I am very adept at standing on my own. With a tone that was more gentle, Gigi said, I know you did. Gaby was taken aback by the seriousness of his tone, which he achieved by using it. There was a brief moment of hesitation before she brought her shields back up to their full height. Then, after giving him a quick glance, she raised them back up again. She asked, And what about you? As a means of dissuasion. I was wondering how things are doing in the realm of JJ Deverox today. Do you have any updates? JJ paused for a moment, and during the process, he brushed his fingers through his hair. It is actually quite quiet. Other than working at hospital, there is nothing else in my life that I find really intriguing. A melancholy expression appeared on Gaby's face as she stirred her coffee and murmured, Quiet sounds nice. There are times when I find myself wishing that I could trade all of this chaos for some tranquility and peace. A small chuckle came out of JJ's mouth. In a word, I don't think I'll be able to at least be comfortable there. And I can't have a peaceful living, Gaby. That's it. I can't have a peaceful existence. Indeed, you are way too busy for that to be possible. In spite of the fact that she was rolling her eyes, Gaby's lips were slightly quirked, and she was smiling. You rescued me. The past, that is not being recounted. The light-hearted conversation was not going to be around for very long. Given the weight of their shared past, which hovered over the discourse, it was inevitable that it would be tinged by that weight. Gaby, I've been wanting to tell you this for a while now, Gigi said after a little moment of hesitation from him. No, I'm sorry. Gaby's eyes narrowed and all of the hair on her head began to stand upon end. Are you sorry? To be more specific, for what reason? For the simple reason that JJ, there is indeed a great deal of ground to cover in terms of the apologies front. While taking a big breath, JJ, as a result of everything. Since I allowed things to fester between the two of us, I am to blame. It is my sincere regret that I was not there for you when you required my assistance the most. Gaby slapped her cappuccino down with a crash when she was finished, but she did it with her mouth clenched tightly. Do you believe that a simple apology can resolve all of that? JJ, does it ever occur to you that we have caused each other a great deal of pain? In all seriousness, JJ declared, I do. Gaby, I am in no way requesting that you forgive me here and now. Something that I am not aware of. I simply had the want to express myself. To express my apologies for hurting you and to let you know that I have caused you pain. His voice had a deep feeling, and it caused her heart to hurt when she heard it. While she was attempting to collect her thoughts, she averted her gaze. We both made mistakes, she replied when she emerged from her silence at last. It's the major ones. To begin, however, you are quite correct. We cannot continue to act as if it did not take place. Little by little, JJ gave a small nod and felt his shoulders relax. Gaby, I never intended to cause you any harm. I place a tremendous deal of importance on you. You persist in doing it. She was able to catch a glance of him, and his attention eventually focused on her. For a fraction of a second, a look of vulnerability appeared on her face, but she soon ignored it and moved on with her life. We are unable to go back since we do not have enough time. We've already been through enough of this thus far. JG stated in a low voice, I know. However, it is possible that we will discover a means to move forward. Do you have any idea what it is just on a friendship level? there is a glimmer of comprehension and recognition. She was leaning back in her chair and crossing her arms above her head when she was looking at Gabby. To have a friendship, huh? With all that is going on, that is a very challenging job. The words, "I'm willing to try," were spoken in a low voice by JJ, but he was serious. "If you would be." As Gabby sighed, a smirk appeared on her lips, and she smiled slightly. "You were born to it. A person who is determined to succeed." Gigi wore a grin on his face. "Among my many admirable qualities, this is one of them." They laughed in a manner that they had not done for what seemed like an eternity. Aside from the fact that it was unsteady and feeble, and everything else, it was development nonetheless. An excruciatingly painful goodbye. According to Gabby, who was standing up from her seat, "It's probably time for me to leave." In addition, JJ stood up without exhibiting even the slightest sign of hesitancy in his motions. "Yes, I am in the same boat. Next morning's shift is tomorrow." Because neither of them wanted to be the first to leave, there was a little pause in the conversation between the two of them. First and foremost, Gabby expressed her gratitude to her by expressing, "Thank you for this." The person who was speaking commented, "For once, it felt nice to have a conversation free of all of the baggage it had brought with it." In response, JJ gave a small nod, and a smile began to form on his lips. Actually, it was the case. That being said, let's try it once more in the future. Relax, there is no pressure, and wait till you are certain. Gabby cocked her head away from him as she observed him. In regard to JJ, we will see. We'll have to wait and see. At the same time as Gigi watched her leave, his chest whirled with a mixture of cautious hope and bittersweet longing. While she was leaving, he witnessed her turn around and go. Even though their past together had been convoluted, messy, and terrible, tonight had been a little step in the right way. Their wounds had barely healed, but tonight had been a step in the right direction. That was more than sufficient for the time being.